Today I'm talking to memoir coach Karen Ray, and we're going to talk about how to use photos as storytelling prompts. And I just love this subject because I have to tell you, Karen, that I was in a writing group. I took a course on short story writing at the University of Nevada years ago. And one of the assignments was he had cut out pictures from magazines and he gave us each a different picture. And our assignment was to write a story about the picture. And mine was a ballerina. And I wrote this short story about this ballerina. So it was really uh, quite a fun exercise. And I
Oh,
actually wrote my story in first person in the voice of how I thought a really young, like 18-year-old professional ballerina would speak, who has suddenly discovered she's pregnant. So I use lots of likes and you knows.
right. Well, those are fun projects, and we interact with images in such a way that it catapults us into storytelling much easier sometimes.
And I think that's the reason, in a sense, that we keep photo albums, things in our lives. And I don't know if people do that so much today, scrapbooking, because they just throw everything in a folder on their computer. But I think it is so much fun to go back and look at pictures, and they do trigger things that you had totally forgotten, like that jacket. Whatever happened to that jacket? What did I do with it? I love that jacket. How come I don't have it anymore?
Right.
So, give us some ideas from your experience about how you would use photos in this memoir writing journey process to get somebody
Yeah.
started.
Yes, I'd be happy to. So, one of the things that I really enjoy encouraging people to do is when they're thinking about starting their story, a lot of people sort of hit overwhelm. They either have so much stuff, they don't know where to begin, or they maybe don't have a lot and are not sure where to begin there. So, when you do have access to some photos, I think it's a fantastic place to start to curate not everything, but pull some together that may go with some of your top events that you would like to talk about. So I like to run folks through something called I like to call a lifeline exercise, and that's a place to
Yeah.
begin and organize. So that's a whole nother topic.
Oh,
But out of that lifeline exercise, you can pull out a list of your maybe top 10 events or pivotal moments in your life. And those are the ones that you then want to go and find some photographs around those events. If you don't have photos, you can do something like your professor did and find images that evoke an emotion or a feeling and have those stand in for you. So I even have people create a vision board on Pinterest with things that are relevant to your story, your memoir, and those photos, even though they're not yours, they get you into that storytelling place and become a prompt. So that's one of the big whys for using photos, and they are going to, let me just look at my notes here, they're going to provide meaning and clues to the story, whether or not you choose to actually include photographs in your memoir or just keep it your text without those photos. People can go either way depending on their personal preference, but
mhm.
in the writing of it, the photos are critical.
And one of the things that just as an aside for publishing, uh, in memoirs and autobiographies, we often see photos inside. And now, as if with if you're going with a traditional publisher, this is not an issue because they'll make that decision. But
Right.
if someone is independently publishing, I discovered that when you have a lot of photos in it, it slows the download of the ebook, and it does raise the price just a few pennies on Amazon's end for publishing. But if you're doing it with a paperback, it greatly increases Amazon's a price for publishing, and that lessens it for you. So what I did with my latest book about my cosmetic surgery, Fix My Face, I put a link in the book and in the ebook where they could go directly to my website and see the gory pictures, and
Oh,
instead of putting them in the book. And that served another purpose by driving traffic to my website.
yes, that's a
So
brilliant idea. I've not heard of doing it that way, but then you're not limited in the number of photos and the storytelling that you can do
exactly,
outside the book.
exactly. And you can tell
Right.
extra little stories about the photos on your website. And
Yes.
I just thought of this a few months ago when I was looking at publishing this book. So I mean, I'm continually learning.
Yes, we never stop learning, and yeah, every week there's always something to learn from
Yeah.
either visiting with other professionals in the field, hearing what other people that are in the writing niche, whether it's memoir or fiction writing, we learn from each other all of the time. But I think choosing some photos to start, even just, I like to run a fun 5 photo challenge to get people sort of unstuck and started with telling their story. And that is talking through the who, what, when, where, why that we all have known since probably middle school about how to write essays. We can apply that also to the photos, and that can help us draw out
Mm.
some of the important material, either for what is there in the photo or what is missing. Sometimes that's a key thing to explore as well. What are you not seeing in that photo?
That sounds good, because immediately you would have the information as to who was there. You'd
Right.
be able to identify the place and time.
Yeah.
Um, you'd know what you were wearing.
Right. So some of those questions to ask when you're trying to decide how to choose which to include in your book or which to use as writing prompts is with there are some exceptions, but primarily you want to choose photographs where there are people in the pictures. That's what we connect with. There's lots
And it's
of,
not just you by yourself.
yeah, or you know, those fantastic, here's a photo of Yosemite, or here's a photo of
Right.
this, of the Statue of Liberty. You can find those anywhere, but what makes it compelling and not just a geographic place is your connection or a family member's connection to it. So that's also a really great tip for if you need to just
Yeah.
cull through this massive collection of photos that you have, is save the ones that have people in them. So you're looking for photos with people in the pictures. You're looking for those that might illustrate a theme of your story that you're writing. You're
Mhm.
looking for those that really pull up some emotion. You're going to have some
Oh,
connection.
good
So
point.
yeah, if it leaves you flat, it's going to leave your readers flat too, or you're not going to be able to write to that prompt. So that's a quick
Mhm.
way to go through and decide which are some that I want to include. And
Mhm.
then when you're looking at those photos, you want to look at what's going on in the picture, um, personally, and think about historically. I think you touched on that. What else is going on in the world or in that geographic place, not just for you personally there. What was
Mhm.
going on before the event of that photo and what happened after? I mean, there you've got a whole chapter on that one photo right there. And look
Yeah.
too at who or what is not in the picture, who's missing. As an
Mm.
example, I'm working on a family history that'll be a private one for one client, and he has a photo of, I think, his great grandmother that is in front of this gorgeous house that was important to their family. And I did not see it the first time, but when I read his caption, way off over here at the side of this photo is a little bit blurry picture of a very elegant, dapper man smoking a pipe. And he's just over here, and he's just such an integral part of the background of that picture that I didn't even see at first. That it intrigues me. Why is he there? What is he doing? Was he told to take his pipe and, get over there so she
And
could
who
post
is
over?
he?
Yeah, who is he? And so those are neat things to look for too. I have a photo I think I can hold up here and use as an example. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me show this one here. So in this photograph,
Hmm.
this is a picture of my mother holding her pet cat, and they lived in the Pacific Northwest. So one of the things, or some of the things that you might ask about this picture is, well, what happened to the cat? And there are a couple good stories about that cat. But up in here, let me see if I can do that. If you
Uh-huh.
notice in the window, there are milk bottles up in that window. So milk deliveries were happening. That helps you see something historical from that time frame. And
Yeah.
right behind her knees is some basement access. I think the coal chute for
Oh, I
that.
remember coal
Remember
chutes.
those? Right. So, and I learned through a company that's changing now. They used to be Ponga, but they work with family photo archiving. And I learned to look at what is there and what is not there in some of the photos and really looking in the background, and it transforms how you look at some of your photographs. So using
Wow.
that little tiny pic as a prompt, you could visit all
Yeah.
of those senses too. Can you smell that basement? Can you hear the clink of those milk bottles in the early morning hours and feel the texture of that cat's fur and how heavy he was while she's holding him up? Yeah.
Yeah. How old was she then?
She was about 5 right there.
So that
Right.
cat was probably pretty heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. Big tomcat, I think he was. And
Yeah.
so that's one way to dive in just a little bit deeper. Another photo that I don't have handy here is a photograph of my great grandmother, and she's dressed up in like you did for formal photos, a white lawn cotton type dress, and she has a pin up here, and she's holding a cylinder paper. And so diving into that a bit, I just thought, well, initially that was a nice picture of my grandmother, great grandmother. I wonder what she was doing. I didn't have any background on that. But another photo colleague who works in that industry pointed out that this pin and the diploma had to do with a nursing program. And so that opened up a whole series of questions and research that I could ask about that photo and history that I did not have about that family member. So that kind of digging in, whether it's old family photos or just, you in the 70s and what was going on, can be a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, I think I've always encouraged people to start with clippings and photos and
Yeah.
diaries and journals, but not everybody has diaries and journals, even clippings. But photos, almost everybody has a bunch of photos.
They do. And you do run into some folks that have gotten on the Marie Kondo bandwagon for whatever reason and just decluttered their house, and they don't have
Yeah.
that. But that's where those magazine articles or even just the digital photos of that time and era can be stand-ins to help you remember. And these are techniques that are used even in places where folks are doing memory care. So because of the power of triggering good memories, hard memories too sometimes, but important memories with those images. So don't be afraid to go through a Google image search or, like we said, Pinterest, and find some that will stand in for you so that when you get ready to sit down and write your story, you've got some fodder with that old cliche that a photo is worth 1,000 words is true.
So if somebody has gone Marie Kondo and they want to write a memoir, what do you think would about the contacting a sister, a relative, someone else in the family who might have photos, and ask to look at them and share them. And I mean, just borrow them or whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe look at them together to get that other, let's say it's a sister. Okay. So you're looking at the pictures together, and then she probably has memories of that picture that you hadn't even thought about.
Yes, that is a wonderful idea, is kind of a crowdsourcing some of those memories. And,
Mm-hmm.
you're the author of your story, so you get to say what eventually goes in and what does not. But there, because just like with police reporting a car accident, they get multiple witnesses because everyone is seeing something different from a different angle,
Exactly.
depending
Good point.
on
Yeah.
where they're standing. So family history, memoir, personal essays, those are the same effect. You're going to get different input there, and it can be a really fun, rewarding experience to do this with family because of the advent of all of the digital ways to share and save these images. High quality, high resolution images can be shared without putting someone maybe in an awkward position of, hey, can you send me the family photos? Some folks are fine with that. Others
Yeah.
get very
Yeah.
wound up about it. So there's
Yeah.
options
They
to
don't
work
want to let it
around.
out of their sight, which is
Right,
understandable.
right.
And I just had another thought. At the same time that they're having that conversation over a particular picture, they could turn on something like the website otter.ai, otter the
Okay.
animal.ai, www.otter.ai, and have it record what they're saying in a
Oh, yes.
transcript.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely. You don't want to
nobody
miss
has
that
to
chance.
take notes.
That's true. Otter AI is pretty good. I always have to go back and edit quite a bit,
Oh, of
especially if anybody
course.
has an accent. But yes, you will not, you think, oh, I'm going to write that down later. You will not remember with the emotional power and impact like you will recording it live. So
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
do that. And if there's chances, and because many of us memoir writers have some family history as part of those stories, and so interviewing a family member with some photos to fill in some of those gaps, you're not going to repeat that. So whether it's an app on your phone that you record with, or the Otter AI, which is one of the best for the transcription, I think, those are all great ways to make sure that you capture the raw power of that storytelling, and then you can go back and edit and refine it as you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that one would necessarily have to approach this with the family member from the standpoint of, hey, I'm writing a memoir, because that can turn some people off.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
I would just approach it with, hey, remember those photos, blah, blah, blah. I haven't seen them in years. Can we get together and look at them?
Right, right. It's very low key. It's low
Exactly.
pressure. I've done so many interviews.
Non-threatening.
Yes, non-threatening. Always the power of storytelling and talking story needs to start soft and non-confrontational. And
Exactly.
when you couch it in terms of, we're just going to remember over some pictures, folks
Yeah.
are
And I'll
often
bring a bottle
very
of
happy.
wine.
Yeah, yeah, and they'll share, and it'll be a positive experience. So I like that you brought that up. That's important, and I think that's a phrase that's a native Hawaiian concept from a friend of mine that lives there. Is this talking story, and I like to use that phrase. It's vital to the work that we do.
Yeah. Great. Well, this has been really enlightening, and you've given us all some great ideas on where to start, and a fun way to start, because this I know there's a lot of emphasis on writing down the pain and remembering bad experiences and things like that. But getting started this way, I think, could set the whole journey off on the right foot, because even if bad things happen later, or you're writing about unpleasant experiences. This can just be a positive way to get started. And
Oh, that's
I
such a
think it would
wonderful
take,
way to put that.
I think
Yeah.
that would psychologically take some of the fear away from writing this, because of course at any moment you can decide, I'm done, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But little baby steps like starting with pictures, I think is very valuable.
I could not agree with you more. And one of the things that, as you've noticed working in your aspiring memoir writers group for so long, if folks can build positive momentum to share their story, they feel compelled, they feel it in their heart and mind that this is something that they must do. Riding the photo train of beginning that and getting those words on paper is just a great way to begin adding to the content that you encourage them to already start with, those journals, those letters, whatever they have. And you know, I think my primary caution, which is for all of us as writers, write your story. Don't edit yet. Edit later. Just get that
Thank you.
story down.
Yes.
And the same thing with the photo prompts. Just write that out.
Great. Okay, Karen, thank you so much for your time. And as I said, this will be available on our Aspiring Memoir Writers Facebook group page and also on YouTube. And I will send you those links when it's up.
That's great. Oh,
All
it's been
right.
really fun having this conversation with you, and take care.
You too.